Merced residents face issues with speeding and pedestrian safety. How would you address these concerns?
Over a decade I spent in law enforcement, and the 28 years as a medic, I ran into that all the time. There are three components to this issue: education, engineering, and enforcement. Education is self-explanatory. Engineering are things like stop signs, red light cameras, and then there's enforcement. You have to be able to have consequences for speeding, jaywalking, things like that, things that put you at risk. And I would advocate for enough law enforcement and technology to take care of those engineering and enforcement issues.
I can tell you, when I've been out canvassing the neighborhoods, that there are two areas of major concern here in Merced. One is our street, and the other is East 21st at Glen Avenue. There have been multiple fatalities at both of those locations, and there is also constant speeding and accidents at those locations. And so I'm gonna mirror what Mike said. It's all about traffic calming. It's all about enforcement. So getting the red light cameras out there, putting up additional stop signs at locations to encourage people to slow down. Also, another thing is getting people out of their cars, creating more walkable communities and areas to where people don't have to be in vehicles, where they can get out of their cars, they can walk, we won't have as much traffic on the roads. But it's definitely a problem right now, and we are all looking at a way to address it.
As talking to the community, it seems that traffic issues have overtaken homelessness as one of the top priorities for our community. And I also agree that education is we got to educate our residents how to work with traffic commission if they need a stop sign, if they would like a light. It's not as simple as like, we need a stop sign here. You need to go through traffic commission. We need a speed bump here. We got to go through traffic commission. So we got to educate our community how to work with our city departments to get those things done. We need to do calming measures. Like I was at 21st and Glen talking to the neighbors on the corner right there, and then I put up a sign, and as we were talking, there was almost an accident. That is one of the most dangerous intersections in the city, and I instructed the residents on that corner house on how to talk to traffic commission and enforcement. Enforcement is huge. We need to build up our traffic department.
So this is a huge issue that I have been trying to solve for the last 3.5 years, because you start seeing trends just going around in Merced. So for those that you do not know, we do host town halls every single year where you can come to us and talk about the issues. And the number one issue that we heard this year was traffic, people speeding throughout Merced. So last year I had brought forward installing the red light cameras. I mean, the last thing that any of us want to have is going through an intersection and getting T-boned from someone running a red light, then all the consequences that come after that. Another thing that I brought forward was the light synchronization in Merced, because more likely than not, you're gonna try to speed through that next intersection so you should get to work or go to wherever you need to go. Like Sayer had mentioned, is we do have the traffic commission. Even though I'm on city council, I still submit requests there because there's things that I see that, hey, this can be an issue.
I am in agreement that we need more enforcement, but I think we're not giving enough attention to engineering. A specific idea I have is to have curb extensions. So while red traffic cameras are great, to catch people that run red lights, actually slowing down drivers should be the goal. And I'm really wanted to share with everybody that I brought this curb extension idea to an employee at Farmdale Elementary, and they were so excited to it that they asked me, so what do I do next? Who do I talk to? And that's when I told them, well, there's a traffic committee, you got to do this and that. And that goes to the education of people. If we not just educate them, because I don't like that term, but walk with them. Like, here, this is how we do it. And I'm going to walk with you so that we can address the issues you want. So engineering is something that we need to put more focus on. Curb extensions, we already have them on Main Street. People aren't going 40 miles an hour on Main Street. Thank you.
Every single year, the city of Merced does host town halls. And every single year that they've hosted town halls, I've talked about M Street and the accidents that continue to happen. And it's not just M Street, it's also Austin Avenue, where people aren't slowing down, and we do need calming measures. But every single year, I hear from the council members that it's too expensive, that there's no money available. And there is funding available. Currently, the city of Merced is taking input for congestion mitigation and air quality projects, or CMAQ projects. The issue goes back to having available staff to see these projects through. We're not seeing all of these projects. As I'm walking neighborhoods, our sidewalks are not ADA compliant. In the neighborhood that I live in specifically, there's a lot of seniors, there's a lot of mothers and parents with strollers that can't cross the street safely because our sidewalks are not ADA compliant.
What are your long-term and short-term goals to address the needs of the unhoused population in Merced?
When I look, I had to address this issue of people dealing with homelessness. We cannot have and we cannot try a one solution fits all. There are different types of individuals that are experiencing homeless. There are people, if you offer them the help, they'll gladly take it. There are people that would take the help if they had the capacity to accept it. There are people that don't want our help. So short term is trying to identify the people that want our help and giving them that help. And that start, bringing down the unhoused population. More long-term goal, I like the approach that the police chief is doing right now, where enforcement's the latter option. And this goes to people that might not want to accept our help. It's something that we should try to, instead of criminalizing homelessness, offer them a program to work their way out of there.
The short and long-term ideas for the unhoused population. First is holding the state at the same standard that they're holding our cities. The state has made it a priority to continue funding to provide services for unhoused populations. However, if we're not meeting the state's requirements, they're going to start retracting some of that funding that is available, and that'll make it a burden to you as a taxpayer here in our community. And so that's step one, is making sure the state's held to the same standard. Second is the connectivity to resources and services in our community. Like I mentioned, there's already money that's coming down from the state that we've been able to provide programs here in the city of Merced. And I keep hearing from businesses in District 5 of the issue of folks camping outside of businesses and making sure, that, for example, the DART team is available, but they also have the resources available to connect residents back to the services that are here in our community.
For long-term and short-term goals regarding the unhoused, for us, we've had a great amount of the Project Home Key projects implemented in Merced, continuing those. Our police department, when they go to the encampments, they are providing the resources should an unhoused person want to use those resources. And they're going to continue to do that as well. Low-income housing and continue these projects. We have, like I mentioned earlier, how many units that we have approved, continue those projects as well. But I think ultimately working with our county, state, and federal programs and how we can get more of these funding to build these houses. One of the programs I'll mention real quickly is our veterans program for homeless veterans is working with the federal legislation to get those vouchers so that our veterans can be housed.
First, I want to say that everyone refers to this as a homeless issue or a homeless problem. That is not the problem. Homelessness is a symptom. The problem is mental health, illness, and addiction, and we have to address those first. According to the point-in-time report that was done in January, 49.6% of the people that are put in housing first will return to the streets. How do we stop that? So the first thing is to get people into housing and make sure they stay there, that they're not returning to the streets. To do that, we have to offer them the mental health and addiction programs and support and services that they need. We have to focus on what the true issues are and not the symptom. Long-term, I'd like to see them in long-term housing and with job development skills, perhaps returning education skills as well.
It's not just a housing issue. It is it's an array of things, and so we do need to address mental health and drug addiction. But we also need to work with our county supervisors and our county departments, because they're the ones that get the bulk of the money to address the homelessness, and also we need to work with COC to address these issues. The recent Supreme Court ruling is changing a lot of the ways that we can address homelessness, and so we need to adapt to how the policies that we're going to implement. The governor just threatened to withhold state funding if we don't take action in clearing up encampments. So we have to follow state policy right now. We're really at the, we really got to follow what they're saying. We need to build housing. We need to connect them to resources. And we also need enforcement, because a lot of the time when I live in front of Applegate, and they will go out there, offer resources, and out of 21 would take it. So things are getting better.
The risk of being repetitive, it is not a housing issue, has been said. It's mental health, jobs, services. Mental health, there's $0 in the city for mental health because it's a county function. We need to partner more with the county and make those services available. The county of Santa Barbara for decades has had paramedics trained as mental health technicians, and when they go out, they can provide mental health evaluations and services. There are going to be outliers that will not accept any services, and as Sayer mentioned, enforcement for that is necessary to keep them within the law and outside of businesses that are trying to do their job. Veterans are entitled to services, but they have to have fixed addresses, and we can certainly help them with that. That's within the purview of the city.